Morgan here. So I talk about skills a lot, and I have talked about kind of this subject before, but really I want to focus in on the top 10 skills that would be really good for bartering, but really, you could use now. I think that bartering is a part of our lives now. I've traded and bartered for so many things, especially, skill-oriented things. We've needed a lot of tractor work. We've needed, have actually helped others, with solar work and all these other things. So, what skills we don't know, we try to rely on others, but not just that. You want to try to learn as many skills as you can so that you're not relying on so many others, that they're coming to you more than you're going to them. So that if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need this done, and be like, yeah, okay, what do you got to offer? You're, like I said, they're coming to you more than you're coming to them. You want to rely on yourself more and have other people, offer stuff up, or you have enough skills to where you could go to someone and be like, hey, I can offer this in exchange for, whatever you need from them, right? So skills are really, really valuable in addition to stuff, but skills last, I think, longer than stuff in general, right? So anyway, let's talk about skills. So mechanical skills, that would be the first one. So what do people usually do? When their car is breaking down or whatever, right? They take it to a mechanic, right? So you want to learn skills. You're immediately going to start saying, well, what about an EMP? Well, who cares? Okay. Think about skills that you can use now and that you could potentially use in some sort of SHTF situation. Okay. But it's not just like fixing cars. It's fixing bicycles. It's anything that has some sort of mechanical component to it. Fixing tractors, fixing whatever that, you can do that somebody else can't do, okay? The next one's going to be welding. I think welding is an incredible skill to know, something that not a lot of people know how to do. I think welding has definitely been a skill that, really, like I said, just not a lot of people know how to do it. My husband learned how to do it just several years ago, and he's gotten way better at it. Recently we had to give up our welding stuff, and so we had to go to somebody else to do the welding for us, actually a few times, and we've really kicked ourselves for getting rid of our welding stuff. But anyway, it's definitely a really great skill to know. Gardening is 100% a skill, and definitely something that you want now and in an SHTF situation. If you are gardening and growing your own food, people are going to be coming to you to barter for that food, or you can use that food to barter for other stuff, or even use it as currency. I mean, it's food, right? So gardening is absolutely a skill and something that should be learned now, at least in theory and practice, and getting books and things like that, even if you can't have like a big garden or any garden whatsoever. So at least start learning some of the basics of it now. At least start getting that knowledge in your brain. Operating heavy machinery is the next one. So even if you can't maybe buy your own heavy machinery right now, learning how to actually operate it, such as tractors, could be an invaluable skill. Heavy machinery and, bigger vehicles like semis and things like that, those are really great skills to have. You never know when those are going to come in handy. My husband knows how to drive tractors and things, and we've actually had people allow us to use their tractors simply because we know how to use it. So it's a really, really great skill to know, for absolutely sure. All right, so electrical skills. Now, I think that when it comes to electrical skills, I'm more talking about like with alternative energy, like solar and wind and hydro and all these things, in order to hook up and actually create these systems for alternative energy. Alternative energy is just so powerful, and I think that it is just the way of the future, right? But I think that it's even more important if we know how to work on these wind turbines and know how to work on these solar panels and the connections and everything. My husband created, the entire solar setup from scratch for our system, and he's moving it from the RV to our shed, and he knows this whole thing, and he's going to be doing it for our house and everything. So it's a great skill to know, and we've been able to help other people that don't know anything about it. And solar is still very foreign to a lot of people, especially doing it themselves. Yeah, no way, right? But I think that any sort of electrical alternative energy knowledge is huge. Next one's going to be carpentry. of course, building things. It looks simple, right? Nail in, board, put together, right? But it's not necessarily a skill that everyone has. I've definitely been getting better at it, when it comes to, precise cutting and measurements and all that. But it's one of those things that definitely needs that practice and needs, that consistent, building even just little things. Build a birdhouse, just things to give you that little foundation. It looks super easy, but once you actually dive in and start doing it, there's some technicalities to it that will trick you, I think. Next one's going to be hunting and fishing, and trapping, and just knowing how to do all this stuff. There's so much little, very specific knowledge, especially for your specific region, wherever you are. Next one's going to be gunsmithing. I've actually been looking into gunsmithing classes because I think it's just an invaluable skill to know, and how to not only put together, like take apart and put together guns, but how to actually fix them if anything goes wrong. Now, I haven't had too many guns of, things actually, going wrong with them, but you never know, right? And it's good to know not only how to take them apart and put them back together, but also how to fix them, if anything were to go wrong. So gunsmithing is definitely on my radar of things to learn. Blacksmith, definitely a really high sought after skill, I think, especially, you can make all sorts of tools, knives, any type of blades, axes, whatever. Blacksmithing is something that is also on my radar, something I really want to learn. I've actually we've been trying to find an anvil, and once we get an anvil, there's a class that we want to take. But we need the anvil first. And it's been really difficult to find an anvil lately. I don't know if it's because of the pandemic or what, but very difficult to find an anvil lately. Anyway, blacksmithing. Highly, highly recommend at least picking up a book and learning maybe, the theories and basics behind it. And the last one I want to talk about is any type of primitive skill. Foraging, knowing how to turn a rock into a knife, anything, knowing how to find water, how to purify water, how to do very primitive things. With very little, with just all the resources around you, how to tap trees for water. There's all these things that are just so specific, and you probably never would have heard of any of this stuff unless you picked up a book, or unless you knew like a Native American or whatever, you knew somebody, or was reading knowledge or whatever. But I would highly suggest getting into those primitive skills so that you can offer those primitive skills to other people. Hey, I can go, forage some berries for you, for blah, 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 whatever. Because if you need something, you have these skills to, one, take care of yourself and your family, and two, to use it for bartering and trading for things that you might potentially need. So, there's lots of different skills. I think that, basically anything that we can do and learn, making our own soaps, those are great. Beekeeping, to get honey and all these things, there's all these little caveats to, skills and skill sets, and, so that you can use it for bartering, not just for bartering, but for yourself as well, so that you're as reliant as yourself. And like I said, even if you can't do these skills right now, I would say at least get a book or read some articles or do something in order to try to get some sort of foundation, understand what it takes, understand what you might need, all these little things, and just kind of get a real kind of basic understanding of these things, so that maybe down the line you can act on these things when the time arises, right? All right. Thank you all so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts about some further bartering and trading skills for today, as well as any time in the future that our lives may very well depend on it. Thank you all so much for watching. Conquer tomorrow by preparing today. I will talk to you all later. Bye.